What's going on, guys? In today's video, I want to talk about how I paid off $250,000 in student debt in about 4 years. So, for many of you who don't know, I actually went to pharmacy school. And after pharmacy school, I went to UC Berkeley to get my master's in public health degree. So, I have a doctorate degree and I have a master's in public health. So, pharmacy school is not cheap. I graduated, it was a 3 year program at the University of Pacific, and I ended up coming out owing $200,000. And my online master's in public health, I did that while working full time, and that ended up costing me $50,000. So effectively, I had $250,000 in student debt. And, what kind of blew my mind a little bit was, for graduate loans, you have to go through the federal government. So they have I think, a first tier loan and they have a jumbo loan. And usually, if you're like in healthcare, like a doctor, dentist, or pharmacist, you're going to have to get that jumbo loan. And what blew my mind away was the interest rate was like, I think, 7% for my federal student loan. And the reason for this is because it's risky, right? If I don't finish, then there's no collateral, right? They don't have real estate as collateral. They don't have like stocks as collateral. It's just like if I go bankrupt, they lose it. But the federal government does make someone co-sign you. So they usually make your parents co-sign you. So if I were to, let's say, have $200,000 in student debt from pharmacy school, I didn't make my payments, they would go after my debt, right? So what's crazy to me was like, how come a student loan is like 7%, but I can go buy a house for 4% at the time in like 2017, or sorry, in 2013 to 2017, and that just kind of blew my mind a little bit. So um, I basically came out as pharmacists. We make, about low six figures starting off. So it is good income, but, I do owe $250,000, and just kind of want to share how I was able to chip off my student loans. So, fortunately for me, my mom and dad, they had a paid off house. So what they did was they would just refinance their house. Um, at I think 4% interest, and then use that. They pulled out $250,000, and they pay off my $250,000 of student loan at 7%, right? But then now my name had to be on the property, so it'd be like me, my mom, and my dad on the name of the house. So basically, it helped lower my interest rate from 7% to 4%. But in addition, since my name was on the house, I had the tax benefits of being a real estate owner, right? A primary resident. So I got the property tax write off. I think some of the interest rates got written off. So I had tax write offs now. So not only was I saving 3% on my interest rate, I had additional tax write offs. Um, so that's what I did. So I basically got, $250,000. I was making all the payments to the mortgage on auto pay. So my parents didn't have to because it was effectively my student loans, right? And then from there, they would give me all the tax benefits because my parents were retired and they didn't need the tax benefits. I needed it more because I was working in a higher income bracket. So some of you don't are not fortunate enough to be in that same situation as me, but what a lot of my colleagues did was they actually just refinanced it through First Republic Bank. And I actually referred a lot of people over to First Republic Bank, and it was the same thing. They were able to refinance to, I think, less than 3%. And I think the payment period was a 10-year term. So, like, going from 7% to 3%, I mean, that's huge, right? Like, 3% is, matching inflation or less than inflation. So, you can take the concepts, whether you refinance a home that's paid off or you use First Republic Bank. The concept was to refinance it so that you can pay down more principal versus interest. And then the second concept that I did was, I still live very humbly. I'll be honest, I still had that college mentality. I was poor most of my life, right? In college and farm school, I felt poor. Fortunately, I didn't mind living at home still. So, I saved on rent. Rent's your basic expense, or even if I was renting, I just would rent a room, right? So I would just rent a room for like $700, and instead of renting a whole apartment for like $2,000. So I lived very humbly. Still at that college mentality. I didn't go lavish. I didn't buy myself a new car after pharmacy school. I didn't buy myself a new watch. I still live very humbly. That's just kind of the way I was at the time. And, just made extra payments to my student loans. And, That's how I was able to pay off in 4 years. Basically, I paid off, what was that, almost like $60,000 after tax money to pay it off. And during tax return season in March, April, I'd get a lump sum of tax returns, and I would take that lump sum of tax returns and just throw it at my student loans, and that's all I knew. Right, all my parents taught me was debt was bad, pay off your student loans. But in retrospect, I wish instead of paying, my interest rate was 4%. I got tax write-offs from owning that property, and I wish I took that $250,000 from 2013 2017 and bought real estate. I could have bought two pieces of real estate for 10% down each and live in it and house hack it, right? Like in 2000, maybe it would have taken me to maybe 2015, but 2015 houses were significantly cheaper. Like in San Jose, houses were under a million at the time. I could have bought something in San Jose for less than a million, $100,000 down. Let's say it's $1 million down 10%, $100,000, and I could have owned a house hacked it, and then in a year or two, 2017, save another $100,000, and then buy another property of 10% down and house hack it, and still have my student loans, right? So, I wish I knew what I knew today and just not pay off my student loans and instead arbitrage it and buy real estate, right? I would have had two more single family homes than I currently do right now, and they would have went up insanely in terms of appreciation equity, and then I can then sell 1031 exchange those single family homes into apartment complexes, right? So like imagine if I had at least one more single family home that I didn't have. It would have by now, if I bought in 2015, for example, it would have over $500,000 in equity. I can then 1031 exchange that, trade up and buy like a $2 million apartment complex in Oklahoma City, right? So no one really taught me. All my parents taught me was pay off debt was bad, pay it off. That's all I knew, and that's how I execute, right? So that's why I kind of wish I had a mentor, a coach, or a course that would teach me these concepts, right? And back in 2015, I'm not sure if YouTube was as big back then or podcast. Maybe it was just starting off, or maybe I just wasn't aware about it. But just now there's a lot of free information, so people can pivot and make better decisions. But I will say on the Dave Ramsey mentality end, yeah, it was nice to have no student loans, right? Because like the moment my student loans was off, that's when I pivoted towards real estate. I'm like, what's next? I pay off my student loans. What's next, right? So I do understand there's an emotional, like sometimes if it puts you at ease, that's fine. Pay off your student loans, but in retrospect, I wish I just bought real estate because I can afford to be aggressive. But then once you get older, you have kids, you have a family, you want to be more conservative. I get it, right? You just want to be like debt free. So um, that's why I kind of want to document my journey and share it so that I can see how my set shifts as I age and as I increase my net worth, right? Because like what makes sense for me today may not make sense for me in 5 years, right? Maybe I want to just not worry about once I have enough large enough real estate portfolio that's making me a lot of cash flow. Maybe I just want to be more conservative, right? Like you're more focused on not losing your money versus right now I'm focused on accumulating, growing, and scaling, right? So each investor goes through different phases, and I just hope by sharing my journey, you can kind of learn the different phases and do that. So, kind of going back to the main topic, to pay off my student loans pretty fast if I were to sum it down. I refinance it to a lower interest rate, number one. Number two is I just would live very humbly. I didn't live a lavish lifestyle. I didn't eat out fancy places. I didn't buy a new car. I didn't go on fancy vacations. I would live at home, or I would just live in a room to save money, even though I can afford a nice apartment. And then number three is you just got to create a plan, right? Like, hey, every month I'm gonna pay an extra $1,000 on top of my payments, right? And just automate it so you don't think about it, right? Because if you don't think about it, you forget about it, and it's less energy, it's low effort. If it's something's low effort, you'll be successful at it. So I automated like an additional $1,000 a month, and then when I got my tax return, number four, I would just lump sum it into my student loans, right? Because I owned property, I paid more taxes than I should have, but it's like almost like a free bonus in my mind, and I would take that money and then dump it at my student loans and not spend it on a fancy vacation, right? And then number five is just remember your why, right? Like your goal is you want to pay for student loans aggressively, and just imagine that feeling of like you being debt free. And that's why Dave Ramsey has that debt free scream and yell. And what's kind of sad is like a lot of my colleagues that graduated from school same time as me, like even to this day, they still haven't paid off their student loans because they haven't consciously put time, mental energy, and effort in thinking about it. They just make the minimum payments and automate that, right? And it's, we graduated 9 years ago, and I paid off my student loans 5 years ago. So, it is possible. I'm living proof, but just wanted to share this video to show that, I didn't have a real estate background. My family didn't like real estate. They didn't like debt. And I started off with $250,000 student debt and was still able to scale to my portfolio that I have today of, 90 units plus without any partners, right? And I started off with negative $250,000 like day one. So, I just want to share this to not brag, but to just kind of show that it's possible, right? I did it, and so can you. And I created a course and a system that's going to teach you exactly how to get to where I got, right? And you could probably do it faster than me, and you can probably um, own more units than me because if you have the system, you can shorten your path, and you're going to pay for that, right? Like if you want to do something faster, you pay for the convenience. I mean, you can watch YouTube and learn, but if you want to expedite your path because time is money, then you should invest in a course and invest in a mentor to get the ball rolling for you. So once again, I'm gonna put a link in the description below for my course if you're interested. Later down the road, I'll probably make a personal finance course talking more about these topics about paying off student debt, how to do index fund investing, just the more passive options. So hopefully you found this video valuable, and hopefully this inspires you to pay off your student loans, or if you decide not to, you can buy real estate and leverage that out. But as long as you know why you're doing a certain thing, that's all I care about. Like, know why that, hey, I'm not going to pay off my student loans faster, but because I want to save up for real estate, right? So as long as you know why you're doing it and you have a plan, that's all I want. I just don't want you mindlessly just doing things without a plan, because that's most of people, unfortunately. 90% of Americans are just doing things on autopilot, not even thinking about a plan, and time flies, right? Like, I've been out of pharmacy for 9 years, and it flew by. I'll be honest, it flew by. We've been in COVID for the past 2 years. It flew by. So, please take control of your time and be very thoughtful and intentional of what you do with your time. So hopefully, once again, you found this video helpful, and please like and subscribe. Thank you so much.